welcome to She is the Change, a podcast about women who are making change in cybersecurity and tech and beyond. My name is Illyana, and I'm the host for today. I'm the founder of Which, the Women in Tech and Cyber Hub. We're not for profit that focuses on getting women into tech and into cyber. And I am so pleased to be joined by my guest. She just released an article for us about exactly why you should join in marketing. So well, we couldn't ask for a better guest. Kelly is the CMO for Unboring,
I am.
brand new entrepreneur running your own company,
Wow.
has been in industry working in marketing for over 13 years, we've decided after
Mm.
some quick info segment, which is a thing as far as I'm concerned. But welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Big fan of which. I'm a big fan of you anyway, as we know, because our paths have crossed in previous. So yeah, a privilege. And also when you reached out about what you wanted to do and what you wanted to start doing in the articles, I was like, yes, please, because we need some stronger women in cyber and drag some people over into the industry. So yeah, I was absolutely for it.
No, I absolutely love it. And it is so refreshing because I know we've talked before many times. I've talked on a panel with you. So I'm really intimate in kind of some of your thoughts and beliefs. And so I know you have a lot to share. And I'm super glad to be sit down on the other one. So I think the starting point, I mean, you start at the beginning. So how did you get into marketing? But not just marketing, it's marketing in cybersecurity specifically.
Yeah, so marketing was pretty traditional. I went to university. I guess I've always been quite entrepreneurial and thought that I was going to start my own business in some way, but I was going to start a dance school basically. That was my background. I was a dancer, got an injury. So I was like, I really do business studies. And then I really fell into the marketing element of that and did marketing. And I did a year in placement. And that started my journey of being into marketing in the agency world. Fast forward that a bit, like I was in London and did B2C at the time and film, and then I landed an agency job closer to home. And they were working on new clients, and some of the new clients were in tech or in cyber. One being Sands Institute, for example, another being a couple of brands that have rebranded at the time. The girls didn't want them. They were like, no, we don't want these ones. I knew I was pregnant. So I was like, oh, I'll take these clients thinking I'm not going with them forever. So if it's boring, it's okay. We work with Software One, Fujitsu, some things like that. And I got into that and thought, actually, when I got into the hood of it, I was like, this is incredibly cool, actually. Like what they're doing is really exciting. Fast forward, had a baby, went into the freelance work, was at a networking event, and this web developer said, there's these really two young, cool guys building this cybersecurity company down the road. You should reach out to them because I don't know anyone that's within a 10-minute drive for them that has any experience in tech. So I sent a really cheeky email, put some examples of some campaigns and said, you need me, basically. And that was 8 years ago. And that was, yeah, joined them as a freelance capacity. It was meant to be one day a week. We launched our first tech event. And then the rest is history, really. I came on board full time, became a director, grew that for 7 years. And then the timing came that it was a good time to leave for me, professionally and personally. And then I didn't know what I was going to do. If I'm being honest, I'd taken, I think we worked out, I've taken like maybe 30 different vendors to market through Call to Cloud during that time, which is quite a lot. But that's a lot of demos. I'd watched a lot of demos, been on a lot of sales pitches, and it was beginning to look all the same. When I realized I was looking out the window for the first time that I hadn't in a while, because I'd become a bit numb to it and desensitized by it, and nothing really shocked me anymore. And the reason I joined cyber and became so passionate about Call to Cloud was when it was just post WannaCry, and we were in one of our hospitals, which was our customers, and they weren't impacted by WannaCry, and they were doing a great case study about how they weren't and how Call to Cloud had helped them, etc., which was really exciting for me to watch, right, in real time. And they were talking about how a lot of hospitals couldn't get blood banks and blood out and stuff like that. And I had quite a bad C-section. It was quite, unfortunately, it wasn't great, wasn't straightforward. And, the first time I was like, oh, hang on, if I'd been in one of these hospitals when WannaCry had hit, what would have happened to me and my baby? And, for the first time, you're like, oh, that's what this means. That's what this is about. That's what we're solving. So that's probably where the passion drew. So that's what it was, why I joined and why it grew so much. And then probably the last 2 years, I was getting a bit desensitized by it. I needed a switch. And that was when I left, I was like, am I staying in this industry? I'm not really sure because I don't think it's going to change. We seem to talk the same. It's the same jargon. I go to the same events. And I really fangirled Sarah, I had done for about a year on social media. And I took the risk of going for a tattoo in London with my friend. And she was like, go and meet her. And she just launched Unboring. I thought it was incredibly cool. I said to her, did she want some freelance workers? Like, I'd happy to come as a freelance worker because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And she was like, God, no, I don't want any more freelancers. Like, I've got loads of, I've got a great team that side for content and stuff. I need a business partner and I need someone that knows channel and not just vendor because she's done vendor and startup. And the rest was history, really. And her ethos was the same as mine and very similar to yours and people that we deal with. Then that's how it grew. But yeah, I'm really passionate about the industry, but it is quite, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is quite a hard industry to be in too.
What do you think the biggest challenge for industry is at the moment?
I think from across the board, looking at it from a customer perspective and even from coming from channel and partner, is there's so much choice now. When I started, there was the big players and there wasn't that much choice and it was very new. Like it was a new thing. So everyone kind of, I would say, not panic war, but we don't, this is new, cyber's new, the internet's evolving, AI was, machine learning back then. And it was all new. So I think customers really relied on whatever they were told. Now, fast forward, I think customers and partners are more well educated. And there's so many, like 25 new cyber companies, even just in the UK, are launching or something mad like that every year. So there's so much choice now. And we learn differently. We absorb information differently. So I think it's oversaturated for people that are trying to take products to market and for the buyer. So I think from a marketing perspective, the challenge is that the product and the price is now not good enough. It's got to be so much more than that because there's so many people in the market. And if you can't explain quite simply what you're doing, people will move on quickly to someone that can, in my opinion. And that's why I think I got a bit desensitized in it because I've seen so many products coming to market and I'm still listening to the CISOs and the teams and the pains haven't changed. If anything, I think statistically the hacks have got worse, right? So yeah, I think that's the big challenge here. And I think marketing and marketeers have a big thing to play in that. Because if we get the positioning wrong or we alienate the audience or they can't understand what the product does on the tin, then we're not really helping these products because some of them are unbelievably cool. I made by such intelligent people and then it gets presented in such an awful way. So that's my opinion from the industry from a marketing perspective. I'm sure people in different roles would have different opinions of what's wrong with the industry, but that's mine from a marketing.
Absolutely love that. And that really links back to what you said in your article for us, which was it's why women are particularly good at being in that space in tech and working within the technology and the cybersecurity, doing marketing because we're empathetic and we can translate and we can, kind of cross that bridge of making it really approachable because sometimes, yeah, those brilliant minds making brilliant products. They're brilliant for a reason, and I'm going to say that quite nicely. I know a lot of them. They don't know how to distill that into something that I can take to a small business or who a small business isn't just going to go, I have no idea what you're saying. I don't want to. I'm scared. So, how do you think like those power skills work so well with women? Because I know you listed a couple in the article, but what would you say is like the number one skill for someone who wants to do cybersecurity marketing should have?
Ask questions. Always ask questions. Always ask why. I used to sit next door to our techies and be like, I have no idea what anyone's talking about. And then would go, someone explain to me like a 9-year-old what they're saying. And actually, I didn't realize what I was doing by default. But actually, I think our average reading age is between 7 and 9 on the internet or something like that. Right. Better that people can understand and make that's too technical. Bring it down, bring it down. So by default, I was doing that the whole time while I was in this industry. Well, why, what do they mean? And I had some incredible tech guys that were really lovely and, not patronizing. And they would go something like, well, what they're actually saying, Kelly, is there's a leak in the submarine. And what they're doing is putting guardrails around it. So the water's still going to come in, but it's not going to spread and sink the ship. And I was like, okay, why didn't someone say that? Or they would go, oh, it's like a spider going around the table and they put a glass around it. and they stopped the spider from going everywhere. But the spider, do you know, just really simple ways of explaining to me. It was like, I understood. They were like, it's imagine someone's going along a street with all the cars, and what they're doing is testing all the doors, and the one that's open, that's the problem, the one you could break into. And then they're red flagging it, but they're doing that 24/7. They're not just doing it one snapshot in time, because cars move and they park in different places and humans are forgetful and they don't lock it. And I'd be like, oh, hold on, I understand that. I can take that to market. That makes sense. So yeah, I think once you get around that, most people understand security from a physical perspective. We understand locking doors. We understand putting things in safes. We understand putting alarms on. We understand if we haven't done that, our insurance is non-invoid. You know, we understand that as a default. We get into a car and put a seatbelt on as standard. I think this is the digital version of that, which we're navigating. And how do we communicate that? For me, if you're coming into the industry, always ask questions. Nothing's a silly question. If you don't understand it, then they're probably being too technical, in my opinion. And there will be someone that can explain it to you. Because my big passion is, if you can understand it, that means you're safer online and you're going to make better decisions too. You're not going to click on things. You won't pass things on. I'll be honest, you become super suspicious. Like, I got very suspicious of my vet this week and had to ring them back. And they were like, no, 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 that's our receptionist. I was like, oh, okay. Didn't sound quite right. So you do become super suspicious. But what I think, the more people know, like, everyone knows to put a seatbelt on. And I remember as a kid, you know, stranger danger, don't take sweets, that sort of stuff. Once it's ingrained, that's a really good place to be. And if we could get that on a digital perspective, that would be amazing. So yeah, for me, my one thing, empathy, loads of other great things about women. But I think asking why, women are quite good at being vulnerable, and we are really good at sharing. I always find this really interesting that women, you know, if we're having a bad day, we'll go into, or, you know, at the nightclub, we used to go into the toilets and gossip together, right? We're really good at sharing, or when we've done a problem or we've messed up, which I think makes us great. My experience of working quite a male industry is, if something goes wrong, they're quite insular and they keep it with them, and then they don't go and speak to anyone else or go, how did you solve that? So I think that's another superpower for women. But ultimately, yeah, the why. Always ask the why.
Well, I think that's really important in what you said about the talking about it. It's that kind of vulnerable culture, the no blame culture, because you do get it, especially in cybersecurity, where if something happens, you want someone to blame, don't you? Like, that person clicked that link. That must be why that. Well, actually, no, why didn't your system? So, where you have someone, particularly who can sit there and kind of navigate the, well, no. Did you imagine that they're running on like an hour of sleep, and that, mistakes will happen when you're trying to hit deadlines? People
Yeah.
exploit that. So I do think that that's one of those skills that we need to take much wider than just even the empathetic marketing, so people understand. It's one of those of, when you're working in organization, how can you bring that across? And you see all of these skills that we talk about, and we're like, this one works for marketing.
Marketing and psychology is so similar to really how a hacker works. They use the same skills that we do as clickbait, and to make you buy something, or go back to your basket, or do what, like, it's the same. It's very similar. So how they think, is a lot of psychology. And if you do click on a link nowadays, it's not, oh, I'm a prince and there's some money in a bank anymore. It's incredibly sophisticated. Like, it's socially engineered. Some of the hacks we've seen are like really personal. Like, they've got into your Facebook, they know your kids, your schools. Like, I heard of one recently of a CEO. He had a really vintage car, and it went to a certain place every single, like, whenever, to be clean. And the hacker worked out where that place was, who the guy that always cleaned their car. He got through their social media pictures of the guy's car. Really, really detailed. We're not talking about getting the wrong name, or you've got a long lost relative, £3,000 in a bank. It's very well done, just as it is how we buy things. We've seen the algorithms. So see how Google does it, and Meta and stuff like that. Don't underestimate that the hackers aren't using analytics and AI and information like that. So I think also, if you have clicked on a link, like, there shouldn't really be a shame, because that person's really worked hard for you to click on it. So yeah, I think you're right. That needs to spin. If it was any other, like, crime, if someone had broken into your house, or I've said this before, like, if you were a rape victim, you wouldn't then put someone on a training course the next day. Like,
No.
it's still the same thing of someone manipulated you, got you in that, like it's still very vulnerable. It's not nice if you've been scammed, right? Not nice at all.
No, I've been there. I've fallen for stupid things. I think the last one I've admitted it, they know. Of when I first started, I do a consultancy 1.5 days a week work with them. And when I first started, I got a message that said, "Hey, this is Jack. I'm in a meeting." Well, it makes sense. I had just started. He
Wow.
wants my phone number. It was first thing in the morning. They knew to catch me off when I'm tired. Like, there are these huge things that you go into, and it's all, I love the fact that you compared checking to marketing and sales because I draw those parallels all the time. In fact, I forced some salespeople to do that talk previously because you are creating that, the urgent need, the same tips and tricks that, tool to use for marketing to, get an emotional response to drive that are the same thing that they want to use to get you to click that same link.
Yeah.
It's just that link goes to two very different places depending on who's on the other side of that market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit funny if you speak to my husband, he would say marketing's the devil of all the things that come through our front door. I'm a marketing, yeah. I'm, surreal cereal, anything like that's coming through our front door. I love the campaign, right? They know how to target me for sure. But yeah, it is the same thing. It is emotional drivers. And that is why I think, I'm a big advocate for getting more women into cyber marketing roles, is because we are emotionally driven. We can read the room, I feel, in a lot of situations, and men can too. But I do think it's a strength of women. And we come from a different perspective. Diversity is so important. And we need to mix that up. But I'm not just talking about women. I mean, culture, background, religion. It needs to be different. And I would say in the last 13 years, it's stereotypically the same sort of people from the same backgrounds and the same traditional roots. And that's not how the hackers are set up. They didn't all go
No,
to this all of the same education.
they don't really care what your education is. They don't care about what tool you're using. They don't care about what gender you are. They really don't care because you're this thing behind the screen that's working to the same goal that they are. I don't want to say always do harm because I think there are a lot of people who don't necessarily, we talk about teenagers, et cetera, who are getting into activism, who don't necessarily know what they're doing or the impact
Or
it will
it's
have.
that's curiosity and curiosity of mind, and that's why I'm a big passionate. Like, if you can get people early, get them interested early at education, then they're going to come our side. Do you know what I mean? It's just curiosity and mind, and being able to break something and rebuild it. I mean, it's an engineerial mind, in my opinion, where people used to take computers apart and put them together, smash things up in the garden and rebuild them. It's a different kind of way of not going into construction, I guess. I think everyone's curious, aren't they? And if it's just to go and get onto your school network to change your exam results, fair play. If you weren't that, I wish I could have.
Right? That would have been a really, really handy skill. Is that a skill? Okay, probably not, but skill to have. You've mentioned it a couple times, and I wasn't going to, but you have
Okay.
said it a few times. AI. What are your thoughts with the current state of AI? Where are we worried? Where are we celebrating? And what does it mean to you, particularly with cybersecurity and then in marketing?
Okay. I think, to be honest, it's been around for ages. It's not like it came in 2025. It's just evolved, right? It's evolved. It's a technology and it's a tool. It's a resource. How I see it and how we use it in our business, we use AI. Of course, we use AI. For me personally, it's the fastest thing that can keep up with my brain. With an ADHD brain, it's created for me. Yeah, it's so much for me. My own GBTs and everything. Like, it organizes everything from my kids to ordering food. From a business perspective, yes, even more so, because I think for marketing, it's blown the field now, right? Because no longer do you need huge budgets to be impressive. You can do photo shoots, training videos. Like, I came in the industry, you couldn't come on StreamYard and put a podcast together, like nothing like that, right? So it's opened marketing up, and now is gone the day that you need a huge marketing budget. So I'm very excited to see what startups do, right? Because you can boom with very little money. That's incredible. You know, the issue with it is it only puts in what you give it. So if you're not an expert in your field, you will put nuances and things that aren't factually true. Incredibly dangerous in cyber marketing, right? So that's the problem with it. If you ask AI to do a cybersecurity marketing campaign, That's what it will give you. It will draw what it knows. It can't give you anything new. So you can't replace your marketing with AI because you'll just get more of the same and more of the mundane. And that goes back to the problem of what I was saying. There are too many products, too many solutions coming out. So if you're going to rely on AI to do your marketing solely alone, you're in a problem because it's a sea of sameness. It can only drag what it knows and what's already out there. It can't come up with the future. So it only drags what it knows, right? So it can't come up with anything new. So, in my opinion, for AI, and I'm just going to use it for marketing in general, it should take the grunt work away. It should not take the creativity away. And it should not take away like any of the beautifulness of something, right? What it should be doing is the mundane. It should be moving you faster. It should be making you accountable. Absolutely. But it should be freeing you up. For example, I outsource my cleaning because I don't enjoy it and I'm not very good at it. I'm better off going and building my business and making money to be able to pay for my cleaner, right? Same with AI. It should be taking the bits out that you're not great at, or the systems or the processes. It's not taking what marketing is away. And I'm very fearful when people are like, oh, I built my whole marketing department using AI. And I'm like, oh God. And there's just so much more content, but no better content. It's just
The
more of it.
same. Everyone does it. No, I absolutely love that because you've said two things that really speak to me. I originally, the first time I failed out of university was for a marketing degree because I couldn't do a lot of at the time, we had to take a foreign language in the United States to pass it. I couldn't pass that, but I also really struggled with things like Photoshop. I struggled with, well, Canva came along and you want to know what? That is easy, that my brain gets that, I can be creative, and that's the same thing that AI is for me of I don't necessarily want it to write my words, I mean, we all know my tone of voice at this point, it's really unique to me, AI is not gonna copy that, but it can help with I love how you said the ADHD. I have 2 tools that I use, one is, like, Neuralist, and it literally uses AI to break down and also guesstimate time because I'm so time blind that, like, that'll take me, like, 10 minutes, won't it? 2 hours later, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't actually." So I have a tool that does that because 'cause you're absolutely right. I'm just taking the things that I'm not necessarily good at and giving myself a calculator to do the hard math. And
What? Or the
I
best
have
Yeah, it's just a lifesaver. Like, I've got this weekend with the kids, and I know if I don't plan it or make it interesting, I went into AI, told them like their age, what they like, what they enjoy doing, what the weather is, where we're local, how much I'm happy to spend, what food sort of thing, what free. And it came up with a whole plan of like where you can take the kids to eat for £1. This is where you can do this is free. This is what's got on. Like the hours it would have taken me to trawl like the web to have worked out 3 day, 4 days of fun. It came out with a theme and what film we should do. And it's done this whole Italian weekend. And I'm like, this one's gonna be really cool, mom. Like, they're gonna love it. So you know what I mean? There's some stuff that makes it so much better. I mean, that's a whole other thing in marketing as well. Like if ChatGPT isn't picking you up, then you need to talk about that, how SEO is changing, right? But yeah, I think it's a tool, like any tool, it helps things and makes things better, like as HubSpot does to get stuff out. It is a tool, but the tool is only as good as what you put in it. If you don't put anything interesting in it or factually correct, or you go, oh, this is what my competitor's done. Can we do something like this? Then it will create exactly what your competitor created. And therefore, you so yes, stuff for like, oh yeah, we've got some really great tools that we're using, and our team they come in and go, have you seen this tool? Or like fun stuff. So me and Sarah did like a load of AI generated imagery of like every decade. If me and her were for every decade, that's just fun, and you can build that in like 3 or 4 hours. Like where when I started in marketing, that would have been a photo shoot and makeovers, and do you know what I mean? It would have cost thousands. But now it's a bit of software, about 50 quid a month, but look what we're creating. So I'm really excited for it. But this is why I'm even more passionate about how we need creative minds coming to the industry, because otherwise we're just going to be doubling down on more of the same and more content.
no. I love that original or creative content.
No,
Um,
now 5 blogs a week, but they're all sounding the same and mundane is not as good as putting out one exceptionally written one a month.
yep. I love that. And I love that because I think that is changing. When I first started, because I do all the marketing for my companies and, I've had to teach myself a lot of it again. It was no, you have to post consistently and it has to be 4 times a month or 4 times a week. And if you're not doing it at X, Y, or Z or doing it wrong, and suddenly that's kind of being switched on its head a little bit, which is
It's consistent, yes, but why? Like, there's always got to be the why. Like, why are you posting? So, like, when I went through leaving the company, I realized I've been on LinkedIn, but I've been on LinkedIn for my company and not for me, right? So that was a different change. But I wanted to post consistency. I said to me, right, I'm going to try doing it Monday to Friday. We're going to do it for a year. Let's get the pattern and trends. Also, this is a big thing. Data. You can't make decisions until you get data. So I needed to consistently post. I need to do carousels. I need to do photos. I need to do memes. I need to do more video. I know that. And start getting the data to then go, right, okay, people like this from me at this time. We've done it for a year. Now let's double down. You can't, but when you start, you don't have the data. So you've got to try. My non-negotiable is I'm not going to post at the weekend because I don't want to be on it at weekend. I don't expect to read my stuff at the weekend. If they want to, that's down to them, but I'm not going to. And, you have people you can read posts saying, oh, you should post on a Sunday. It's the best day. Maybe it is. But for me, that's not me. And I don't want to do that. And I'm hopefully whoever wants to follow me doesn't want to hear from me at the weekend either. But you've got to just find your thing. But it's always the why. Why are you doing it? What's your audience? Well, why? Yeah, you've got to start with the ICP, ideal customer persona, and why are you doing it and why is the audience? If you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, it's a very expensive thing to do, making more and more content.
it takes time, it takes resources. I love that though, because I love the fact that you said data, because so many women, I run the women's group, obviously, and people are like, well, I'm in sales or marketing. I'm not really in tech. And I'm like, well, you work in industry, you work in cybersecurity, so you're at least adjacent. Marketing and sales is actually highly technical because of the data that sits behind it, because of how you have to be able to translate that data into meaningful numbers for a lot of times, especially in cybersecurity, highly technical people. They don't really care. Like the boards are looking at their product and want the money. And you're looking at it going, well, how do I translate
Yeah.
creative into, no, this is actually bringing in money. Here's the data.
Nail on the head, right? And this is my biggest learning curve as maturing as a marketer, right? Anyone that sees our post, she's the logic and I'm the emotion. And I am a creative, ideas, get me out in a field or on top of a castle or throwing glitter on stuff, coming up with events. That's me, right? And when you're in that startup phase of the business, you need that fire. And I would highly recommend you hiring someone like that if you're in a startup. The issue though is at some point you have to prove, is it working? Now, I was very lucky that it did work, but a lot of it was done by gut. And I was like, I knew it was working because of gut. Now, when a business starts growing, you get adult people in that have spreadsheets. And there's a lot of times you can't sit there going, oh no, because my gut tells me that font's wrong. So we've got to reprint it. And I had to grow up really, really quickly. I hated the spreadsheet part. But what I have learned is you can be the most creative person in the world, but you do have to have some data to justify why you're doing it. Now, don't get me wrong, marketing isn't always a perfect science. Sometimes something goes viral for absolutely no reason, and sometimes it doesn't, and there is no data to back that. However, if you want to grow in the ladder, you want to get to a CMO role or above and beyond, you operationally need to understand the data, when to switch things off, when it's not working. And that's okay if things aren't working, but you have to move quick enough and pivot quick enough. You need to understand the data and you need to be able to translate it to the board. And as much as I say we have an industry problem in cyber that we make it too complicated so the board can't understand it or the general public, marketing exactly the same. We're just as bad. So if you can't go in, and I've never, and I would love to go on a board meeting. I've never been into a board meeting where someone's gone, how many likes did we get? That doesn't happen. I'm just going to tell you, they just want to know how much have you spent that quarter? What's the pipeline? How do you did it? What we're going to do more and what we're going to do less of. And if you can't articulate that in a very clear way, yeah, that's when you get issues. And if that isn't your strength, lean into it. Don't kill what you're good at. Use ChatGPT if you need to, but also find someone or get someone in your team that's that good side of it. or get really close to the FD to help you and teach you. But yeah, I know that's not my strength. Absolutely know that's not my strength. So that's why me and Sarah are a perfect partnership. But yeah, I had to pull on my big girl boots, even with our own business, right? We have a little thing like, oh, we have to do fire. Like we have to be adult. All campaigns are working. How much money are we spending? And she has to rein me in. Like if I'd had my way at Impro set, oh my God, the money I would have burnt having fun. And she was like, no, no, no. But that's okay. And that's fine. But also I push her a little bit because sometimes she'll be like, oh, let's not. And I'd be like, let's go on though. Like even
But
when
what
the
if we
team
do? You said, but what if we do? What if we try? Like, what if we push just a little bit outside that comfort zone?
and maybe that's the same in cyber. Like maybe you need to push the needle a little bit of how you do stuff just to try it differently. It might work out differently, you know? What if you run that phishing email campaign slightly differently? Maybe the results will twist it up a bit. But as a marketeer, the creative is amazing. If you're very operational, I would befriend or start leaning into your creative because you need both, I think, to be good at it.
And I love how you found that with Sarah. Now, I love that both of you say that finance aren't your strength. I'm very conscious of time. So I have two last questions. If
Okay.
finance and the, data, the spreadsheet side of it isn't your strength, what would you consider your strength? What's your superpower when it comes to just anything, life in general?
Ideas. For marketing, it's ideas. Like someone will bring me a product and I'll go off and connect it. Yeah, just ideas, or I can see the big thing, or I can, yeah, ideas. And that's my thing, always ideas. Like I always say when I work with someone, I can taste it and I can smell it and I can see it. I lean into all my senses with something. So I think about it from what someone would wear, what do they smell like, what does the brand feel like. So I'm very sensory and emotional, but yeah, just completely ideas. And I really care about how someone feels when they engage with the brand. So whether that's from events to how the salesperson talks to you, what does the demo feel like? Does it feel the same all the way? Because there's nothing worse than going to an incredible event or meeting someone on an exhibition stand and then having the demo and then it just dies because their marketing has done a great job at the front, but it's got to transcend. So yeah, how do you make that person feel? And how do you make that person feel when they become a customer? I'm so big about that. So I think that's definitely my superpower, leaning into my senses and full of ideas.
Oh, I love that. Now, we end with the same question for everyone. And for
Okay.
me, it's kind of the most important because I know all the things that I probably would have said and not listened to, but like the impact that it could have if someone heard it now. What is something you would tell your younger self?
It's all going to be okay. You don't need to work it out straight away and just trust your gut and everything you put your mind to is come true. So yeah, you think you have so much self-doubt when you're younger and you think that you need to have it all worked out. And the one thing I'm learning as I open and get behind more doors or meet new CEOs or incredible business people, especially, they haven't got it all figured out. So yeah, just keep pushing, lean in, follow your gut and just know that it's going to be okay. I think if I had known what I'd known now, I probably would have made bigger moves quicker and probably would have taken risks faster. What's the worst that can happen?
I like that because as someone, I'm really cautious and I'm learning much later in life. Actually, if it doesn't work out, you just fail faster and you get on to the thing. Like if you take that chance and it doesn't work out, well, you've gotten it done instead of thinking about it for 3 months and then maybe doing it or not. It's so much quicker. And it's that agile bit. We talk about agile a lot in, tech and cyber. We talk about, you said it earlier, being able to switch, to be able to stop that campaign if it's not working. You don't always see that it will work out on the other end. And it might not always work out the way you expect it to,
No,
but there will be something.
we'll learn something from the falls and you just got to get up quicker and move on. But I think we're all a little bit in our head and we think people are watching us way more than they are and they're not. We're all worried about ourselves. So yeah, if you're sat there thinking, "Oh, I want to get into cyber, I want to get into marketing, but I've done this career for so long." I saw recently there's a woman that's taken up extreme skiing at 67 or something. Like, well
I
done.
love it's not that I particularly like Oprah, but she didn't start it until she was, I think, over the age of 35. And I mean, it's a mobile.
That's mad, isn't it? So at my age now, and she'd only just started. Wow.
I can't remember the exact age, but she is one. And there's a whole list of people that have done it. I didn't kind of do what I'm doing until I was past 30. So I absolutely love that. And I love that if you're just sitting there, do it. type mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I think as women, we evolve. I think I'm not who I was in my 20s. I'm definitely not who I am in my 30s. And I'm quite excited to see what I am in my 40s. But I think we're always evolving. So for women, definitely like have a go. What's the worst that can happen? And yeah, yeah.
It probably won't happen too. Like, let's be honest, we're really good at thinking of the worst case scenarios, horrible about it. But oh, I absolutely love that. Thank you so much. I do have to get there only because we've already been talking for
Way too long.
just as a bit of a wrap up. Please go follow Kelly. If you don't on LinkedIn, it's a masterclass in unique, creative, loud, out there marketing. And I love it personally. It is such my cup of tea. The link to that and her article, which has a ton of resources about getting into marketing, books, courses, tech stacks, will also be down in the show notes. But please head to witch.online, give us a follow, give Kelly a follow. And is there one last thing that you'd like to say, Kelly?
Well, reach out. Please reach out. I love meeting anyone that wants to join the industry. Definitely come to the Witch events if you're having a dabble. It's a lovely, lovely team to be part of. But no, thank you so much. Thanks for giving me the platform